All right, so in 7.5, we're learning the percent of change. The very first thing you need to know is the formula for finding percent of change. It is the amount of change, or we call it the AOC, divided by the original. You have to have this memorized, write it down in your notes. The amount of change over the original. You're going to see me write it AOC over ORG, but it stands for amount of change over the original. So here's how it looks in example 1. All right, in example 1, I have original and new amounts. So I'm looking at the change in my values from the original to the new. So in the first example, it says the original amount is 20 and the new amount is 25. So what's my amount of change, or my AOC, between 20 and 25? How much did it change? 5. I subtract the numbers. 25 minus 20 gives me a change of 5. Okay, that's the difference. And I divide that by the original amount. What is my original amount? 20. And now change it to a percentage. Okay, so it's going to be 0.25, which is 25%, and I know that it's an increase because from my original to my new amount, my values are going up. That's how I know it's an increase. So do the second one. I want you to find the AOC and divide it by the original. Find your AOC, subtract them to find the amount of change, and divide it by the original. All right, so what is my amount of change? What's my amount of change? 39. And now I divide it by 150, and what's my percent? What's my percentage? -13. That's not negative. 39 divided by 150. Guys, I'm increasing. I'm going from 150 up to 189. All right, so 39 divided by 150 gives me 26% increase. 26% increase. Who got that right? 26% increase. Okay, good. Most of you. All right, now I want you to do the third one. Same way. Find your amount of change, divide it by your original, and then write the percent of increase. So what's my AOC? What's my amount of change between the two numbers? What's my amount of change between 143 minus 55? What is it? 88. Divided by my original gives me 160% increase. Who got that right? 160%. Okay, so now we're doing better. Haley, did you get it? Okay. All right, John and Dab, question? Okay. All right, so that's example 1. Now in example 2, good news, same thing, except now I'm just moving the other way. Now I'm finding percent of decrease from original to new, from 512 to 320. So again, find your amount of change, divide it by your original, but this time your values are decreasing. No big deal, you just say decrease. So taking the difference between the two numbers, 512 minus 320 gives me 192 over 512. Change it to a percent, and yes, it's decreased because from my original to my new, the values went down. Okay? All right, do the second and the third ones the same way. All right, so now what is my amount of change on the second one? What's my amount of change? 700 minus 123 is what? 577 divided by 700 gives me 82.4% decrease. Did you get that right? Who got it right? 82.4. Now on the third one, I get a really long decimal. No big deal. Remember, I go out 4 decimal places and round to the nearest thousandth of a decimal, so I can round to the nearest tenth of a percent. Okay, so if you went out a little farther, it's not a big deal. Just make sure you round when needed on the quiz and the test. Now let's find new price. Okay, they want us to find new price. So we are, okay, I don't need the instructions. To find the new amount, there's 2 steps. The first step is to identify the percentage of the original amount. In all of these problems, you're going to see an original amount. In this example, it says that there are 198,000 spectators at a sports event in 1995. The number of spectators, here's a key word that I have to look for, it increased by. So if you're increasing something, are you adding or subtracting?
Adding.
You're adding, okay? By, and here's another important part, 12%. So your first step is going to be to figure out, okay, what is 12% of my original amount? So what is 12% of 198,000? I've got to figure that out. I want you to find that number. What is it? You should be working. What is it?
It's 221,760.
23,760. And so now I'm going to take this number, and that's not my answer. I need to now go back and add it to my original amount. 198,000 plus 23,760 equals what?
221,760.
221,760. Nope. Spectators. Spectators. I wish that was my teaching salary, right? Okay, so spectators. Spectators. So the reason I added, guys, why did I add and not subtract? Because it's an increase. It's an increase. So this is more similar to what you're going to see on a quiz or a test question. It's just going to tell you to increase 45 by 20%. So it's two steps here. The first step is to figure out, okay, how much is 20% of 45? And then take that and either add it or subtract it from your original. I want you to try to solve the first one. First step, what is 20% of 45? What is it? 9. Okay, so what do I do with 9? I add it to 45. Why did I add it and not subtract it? Because it's an increase. So on the second one, do the same thing, except now you're going to subtract it. All right, try to work the second one. Okay, so now 85 times 0.28 equals what? What? 23 point... Guys, come on. Hello? Come on. 23.8, right? Participate. Give me the answers. What do I do with 23.8? I subtract it from 85 and I get my total. 61.2. Did you get it? Raise your hand if you got it. Okay, so answer me. All right, most of you got the answer right. Still sticking with this new price, okay, type of concept, finding the new amount. Now I'm going to look at a word problem. In 1983, the average price of an audio CD was $21.50. By 2000, the price had decreased by 34.8%. What was the average price of a CD in the year 2000? I want you to round your answer to the nearest penny. Okay, same concept, finding new amount. Try to round your answer to the nearest penny. Take 2150, what do I multiply it by? 0.348. What did you get?
7.482.
Yeah, 0.482, or I just went ahead and rounded it to the penny. No matter when you rounded it, you should have still got $14.02. Why did I subtract? Because it's decreasing. Who got $14.02? Okay, so guys, that's your lesson on percent of an increase and decrease. Couple key concepts you have to remember here is changing the percent to a decimal before you multiply. And your formula, AOC over the original, you've got to know that for your quiz on Monday as well.